Make me your
imagine a world.
Make me your broodmare. Make me.
Thank you. Imagine a world, if you can, where women desire to have sex with the men in their lives, and if they choose to have a child, it's a positive act, as opposed to some sort of weird Matrix meets like milking machine.
Yeah.
Meets Auto Hatch Aliens 2 hive where the queen is chained up and pumping eggs out into a giant landmass.
Oh, it's funny, huh? Listen, you were saying, yes, in a brief regarding abortion, Supreme Court Justices Amy Coney Barrett and Alito's draft said the U.S. needs a, quote, domestic supply of infants to meet the needs of parents seeking to adopt. And you said, what did I tell you? Broodmares for the state.
Yes.
Yay!
Right.
Here we are!
Yeah, it's almost as if you and I and people on your show have been warning people for years that this was coming and that taking your foot off the gas every other election just for the heck of it has consequences long term, and it's never gonna. But Democrats are using social issues again to try and drive voters to the polls when the only thing they have to show for their economic message is 3.6% unemployment, constant wages rising, a cap on petroleum products, and an infusion in infrastructure that will lead us to towards a smart grid of renewables. I mean, what else have we got to sell?
We played your joke. We played your joke in that promo about our friends that vote every other whatever.
Yep.
This is, I've been saying all morning, they play the long game. They didn't get what they wanted, Roe v. Wade overturned, for 30 years.
This was
and
methodical.
they still turn out in every election.
Oh yeah. And I was in a back and forth just this very morning about, like, Democrats have control of the whole thing. Why don't they just, okay, first of all, we don't, because we have reconciliation level control in the Senate, which is where legislation goes to die. And if you want policy to be able to be done without, say, the filibuster or something like that, and we can't trust that everybody's going to show up to vote if that were to happen. Let's say they blew up the filibuster, stop this, that wouldn't drive more Republicans to the polls this fall than Democrats who would just go, well, it's handled then. They filibustered it and it was done. You know, they ended the filibuster, they fixed it, it's done, and I don't even have to vote this year. And then the Republicans take it over. The filibuster is gone for all policy issues, and they just start going, all right, well, this, and just every kid gets an automatic weapon the minute they're born. But, you know, like, that is my biggest concern with all of this, is this kind of just like constant letting off the brakes. We have 48 elected senators now, and I don't mean with Manchin and Sinema. I mean legitimately, including all Democrats. We have 48 elected. We have two independents that caucus with us, Bernie Sanders and Angus King. That's what gives us 50. Kamala Harris gives us 51. We used to have 60.
Yeah.
The Republicans already have a 5 to 6 seat lead because of red states that have fewer, the population smaller than Santa Monica, and yet they get 2 senators. We're already ice skating uphill against that part of it. But we used to actually have enough to overturn the filibuster in this situation. And what happened? Was it their voters that shut us down? No. It was our voters that let our foot off the gas and went, well, it has butter emails and and so I give no quarter to that kind of nonsense. It's full court press from now on. Stop with the toddlerness.
Yes. It's not like they're not giving us enough midterm gifts. Matt Gaetz tweeted, how many of the women rallying against overturning Roe are overeducated, underloved millennials who sadly return from protests to lonely microwave dinners with their cats and no Bumble matches? And you said, sounds like a winning message for the midterms. You should run with it. I doubt women are going to turn out much at all anyway. And hey, 17-year-olds can't vote anyway. Am I right? See how you do. See how you do on Twitter, Hal Sparks?
See, I got good long game on Twitter. That's for sure. And again, Matt Gaetz has nothing to lose in this particular circumstance. The more minors, the better in his estimation. But you have to. This is structurally important. You do not give any ground to these folks, and this is, if anybody needed a final lesson about, well, it may be as far as voting for Republicans is, is like, well, does it really matter? It's 2 legs in the same pair of pants. We have a 2-party system, but they're basically the same. And the establishment, the corporate den, the blah, blah, blah. All those talking points put us exactly right here.
Yep. And I have to say, we've just been talking about Dr. Oz. First of all, one of the reasons he got booed yesterday at a rally for him, headlined by Trump, is he's a doctor. He's on record as saying it's not even close to a heartbeat. It's 6 weeks old, and how pro-choice he was. Like, I think voters recognize a fraud, whether it's, and I think that's why J.D. Vance is going to lose too. They're frauds. They don't believe it.
You say it like it's a bad thing on their side. You know, it's why they're leading in their primaries, but their primaries are like 5 deep. It's just like when Trump, you know, there was like a 17-person field. So, of course, he got to edge himself to 21% and everybody else was at 14 or 12. And that somehow made him look like the obvious choice. Meanwhile, Tim Ryan got 69% of the
Tim
Democratic
Ryan's
vote.
going to win. Yes,
he is. He's going to win the seat. He won the primary.
And the road to the Senate goes through Ohio. But just real quick, you tweeted about Dr. Oz. You said Dr. Oz didn't vote in the U.S. election because but he did vote in Turkey and then lie about it. The only thing that can make him more perfect for the GOP is if he voted twice. I mean, it is hilarious. Every time they find vote fraud, it's a guy in the Villages that killed his wife and voted for Trump twice.
Right. Well, you're conflating those stories. They spread that out. It was just old people who thought they had the right to vote twice because Trump was just that good. And then the dude that murdered his wife and voted in her stead for Trump while pretending to be looking at her. It was like Trump locked up the Scott Peterson vote last time. I mean, if you're going to narrow your demographics, that's the one he went for, and he nailed it.
Someone named Lana, who is a Trumper, I guess, tweeted, huge news. We pray it's so accurate. Between Monday, the 2nd of May, and Thursday, the 5th of May, there's expected to be a removal of Joe Biden and a return of Trump to the – oh, we missed that already. And a return of Trump to the U.S. presidency. This is big, high level. And you said, ma'am, Trump is an admitted sexual predator. Also, this is a Wendy's. Okay, that's funny.
I will sometimes go on like QAnon bug hunts on my show, you know, at infotainmentwars.com. We don't need the documents. We have memory. And lately I fell down this brand new QAnon rabbit hole where the best thing is that they're fighting right now, and this will be great as it plays out over the course of the election, that they cannot decide whether or not it's JFK wearing a skin of him or JFK Jr. wearing a skin of Trump, or Trump has clone body doubles because he's too busy doing so much good, like fighting child traffickers with a machine gun on the Mexican border. And he's still actually president. This is my favorite part. Everything sucks. The country's going to hell. It's terrible. Nothing works. But Trump is still president and really pulling all the strings. I don't know.
Fantastic.
I don't know how you don't turn blue and fall over with those thoughts, like punching each other in your head.
And as you tweeted, Biden boom continues unabated. Jobs numbers, 3.6 unemployment. What did they always say? It's the economy.
468,000 jobs, 300,000 more jobs than expected last month. Real wages rising, and the only thing propping up inflation right now is supply shock. It is not monetary inflation. That is not what we're going through. We didn't print a bunch of money, which is a bunch of garbage. Everybody tells you when they want to rein in spending, when it's the Republicans running. They want to play Santa Claus when they're in charge and Grinch when they're out. This is all about oil prices world over. It has been for the last 3 inflation cycles. It was before 2008. This is garbage, and I challenge anyone to push back on this. Anybody.
And those supply chain issues will be taken care of as soon as we dead inside white ladies get making more babies.
Yeah, exactly.
The supply chain
more
issues
workers
are
at the factory. The new American factories.
Yeah. Kevin in D.C., real quick. You're on with Hal Sparks. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. I learned when I was young, I only needed to learn a lesson once. Like, I noticed that women didn't respond to cat calls. Now, one of them said, yes, baby, come behind this.
Yes, I will come home with you directly. Where do you live?
Yes, let's do all those things. So, by the same token, why some of your, especially Stephanie, some of your female brethren, many of them happen to be white, haven't learned that pouting because you did get your pony, as Hal indicated a few moments ago, doesn't work. Back in 2010, when I was a fundraiser, I would have told grown-ass adults, I know that Obama didn't give you your pony, but if you see how obstructionist they are as a minority party, what do you think is going to happen if they take the majority?
That's true.
And of course,
not just a pony.
Obama had to fight them.
Not just a pony.
Right.
The pony needs to fart glitter.
Yes. Also, by the way, while Obama was giving you the ACA and salvaging the world economy,
yes,
in the process, everybody else was saying, well, the ACA is popular now, but wasn't at the time. This is the origin of how I ended up on your show, Steph, was talking about the ACA back in the day.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the story behind it all was that it was unpopular. It was underwater. You know why it was underwater? Because half the people didn't like it because it didn't go far enough.
Right.
That's not underwater. That's 80% of the people going, we like this. We just think it could do more. And Obama going, yeah, I agree. But we need to elect people will help me get this done.
Yeah. Yes. You know how supportive we were of John Fugelsang always saying we need to hold Obama's feet to the fire.
Uh-huh. Yes, I often enjoy torture analogies when it comes to the first black president.
Well, but people do, Hal, want to get in the time machine. I've heard when Obama had the majority, we should have codified Roe. Well, we didn't know there was going to be this level of b***ery. Like, we thought there'd be normal Supreme Court nomination processes and other things.
We also expected that this Democratic wave wouldn't ebb as quickly and as lazily as it did.
Right.
And since it was established law, everybody who was coming before the court, especially at that time, before Trump got in and it was basically too late, because people were like, I don't know, Hillary is a 6 of one, half dozen of another percent during the first year of the Trump administration, and equaled the same amount of people killed, collateral damage, civilians killed in the entire 8 years that Obama was president, including when the firing policy hadn't yet been changed also, when he came in.
Now, at that time, you and I were big anti-Iraq war people. And back then, we were comparing drone strikes to taking out entire city blocks in shock and awe. And this completely unnecessary war in Iraq,
Yes, exactly. So, the standard, and the other thing is the standard going forward, if people are going to finally admit that you just don't give quarter to Republicans in this way by just giving up your vote, either by a protest vote. I'm sorry, if they're not going to win, it's not the adult choice. Fall in love and fall in line is the only way you're going to stop these folks.
Yep.
And it's the only reason we needed the Lincoln Project and people like Steve Schmidt to ultimately come to the rescue of Democratic messaging going into 2020 and be a part of the team is because we hadn't already established and codified our own hold on the Senate and the House the way we should have.
Yeah.
The Senate's always going to be hard, and we have to act like it.